Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Not to give away the whole preview here, Jeremy, but is this it? Is this the final match? Quick answer. What do you think? Does this need to be it?
I want to say, yeah, between these two guys, definitely, because, you know, we had our tag match last month and now we're getting what should be the blow off. But I don't see a point in them going any more after this, I guess.
You can look back at tea leaves all the way back to SummerSlam 2023 in Detroit, right? Where this could have kicked off and breadcrumbs or whatever. They've been together since Backlash to 2022. So it's been about 2.5 years pretty much. So there's a lot of history here. And for them to have their falling out at SummerSlam and really their first singles match here at Bad Blood after a few Raw matches where they're tagging against each other and they're like interweaving with the Rhea and Liv Morgan and Dom storyline as well. I'm not sure if this is it, but I don't know if it feels to me a little bit personally like the peak has already been there and it's on the decline, right? And I don't think that if we were to continue with this that we could maybe do damage to each guy. I don't think so, because I think they properly positioned both of them coming out of it, perhaps to land where they should land, but Priest was much hotter, it felt like, around SummerSlam, coming out of SummerSlam. And now he feels like he's kind of like a peg in the Rhea Dom storyline, and that kind of feels a little bit hotter here. But this should be one of the better matches on the card. I think it's a sleeper. Finn Balor is a sneaky, very good pay-per-view performer, despite not necessarily stepping up and having a lot of single pay-per-view matches historically of late. But I don't know. I trust it, but I just feel like the juice is kind of squeezed out of it a little bit.
It's almost as if the whole Dirty Dom and Liv and Rhea Ripley kind of scoops whatever heat that Priest had, where he was, to me, it seemed like he was a sidekick for Rhea Ripley for a while there, even though they should have been equals, you know?
I thought they brought each other up a little bit, but right. I think that Rhea's star power perhaps definitely outshines his.
Yeah, he eclipsed him. But you know what's weird to me about this match is that it's just a straight singles match. It's not, excuse me, it's not a stipulation match.
Yeah.
With their history, it would be something like a falls count anywhere, no DQ, you know, whatever. Like, I don't blame them for not doing a Hell in a Cell, because you can't water that down every match in the cell and all that. But I don't know. Like you said, I don't think either one will be hurt after this one, no matter who wins or who loses. But it almost feels like there's missing some teeth to it, and maybe a stipulation match could have, you know, added some umph to it.
Because the lack of a stipulation makes you kind of veer off my original point that this should be the blow off. And maybe perhaps that this is the next chapter leading to the blow off. But anyways, before we kind of get into the rest of it and how we got here and what we think of everything, Jeremy, tell us what you've been up to. You're not a familiar face in recent North-South / place to be, but historically you've been there. So what you been up to lately, and give us a little quick history lesson.
The OGs remember me from a long time ago, I hope, and PlaceToBeNation.com. But I'm doing a video game podcast. I've been doing video game podcasts for well over 10 years now because of Justin and Scott. I'll always call him JR. I know he wants to be called JT, but JR, you'll always be JR to me, and Scotty C. But I host I actually have, it's called OCP Gaming, and it's an umbrella for 3 different shows. I have the co-op show with myself and my longtime close personal friend, PK. And then I've got the React show where we review video game related other media like TV shows and movies. We just did season 1 of Fallout on Amazon Prime. And I also have Reading Reddit, where I go into Reddit and I don't look it up. I go in there, pick a subreddit of gaming, and just read questions and read like collections and things like that, and just answer questions and then just kind of critique collections as well. It's always fun. All that is weekly. You can check that out at ocpgaming.podbean.com. And I play a ton of video games. I watch a ton of wrestling. I met a few of the wrestlers, and I've got plenty of t-shirts. And so this is, you know what? I'll give you something. Here's a good trivia. I was at the first Bad Blood in 97.
Oh,
live.
Wow.
And St. Louis. Yeah, I got to see the first Hell in a Cell match live.
How's
that for trivia?
Very, very, very cool. That must have been a awesome live experience for sure.
It's something else, man. Because I just turned 15 or maybe 14, and seeing that Cell live, man. Because I'd seen cage matches, but that Cell live was something else.
First one ever, yeah, very cool.
Whew.
It's a great match, and it's a great finish too with Kane coming back. Great reveal, great build up to both the match and the angle. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. I couldn't put that over enough. All right, but let's kind of put over Damian Priest or Finn Balor. Quick question for you, right? Kind of to the sentiment that we had earlier about is this over and what's next? You have to pick one for the next 6 months to get behind. Which one you getting behind, Priest or Balor?
I would have to go Damian Priest. And it's not because Balor's not a good talent. I think he's better in the ring than Priest is, but I think Priest has a more rounded out kind of character where he didn't look odd with the world title, and he's kind of shown that he can rise above the tag team and the group. Whereas as Balor, unfortunately, just seems to where he's like in neutral, man. And it's great that he's a tag champion. Yeah, but it's always, and ever since he got hurt, when he won the Universal title, it's been like that. It's like, it's always, he's going to get something. No, he's not. And it just, I would have to say Priest to me seems like the better pick for the next 6 months. It wouldn't shock me if how well Priest does in the Rumble. I could see him. I don't see him winning, but I see him going to the end of the Rumble.
Yeah, and it'd be wild when this group started in 2022, right? You would figured when Balor came in, he would be the guy that you would want. He was the one that got Edge in 2023 for the blow off there, right? And then Priest got Money in the Bank and kind of got that relationship with Rhea on screen kind of closer to Rhea and really blew up. Honestly, he really did. And I don't think you're wrong picking Priest, but let's talk SummerSlam. Do you think it was a satisfying angle how they got there? Also kind of coinciding with the earlier angle where Dom turned on Rhea, that Priest, we had the full circle moment of where Priest screwed him in 2023 with the Money in the Bank tease, and then Balor, with all that pent up rage and emotion, waited his time 1 calendar year later on SummerSlam again, got his revenge. So do you think that was a satisfying angle in conclusion to the Judgment Day as is and pivot to the blow off?
Yeah, I think the problem was, or the problem that I had with it is that I don't know how many people realized when they did this year at SummerSlam and the whole mess they had there, where it was a payoff from the year previous. Because I had honestly not really thought about it. And then their match at SummerSlam I thought was very good, but you could just tell this wasn't the end of it, you know. And I honestly thought it was going to be the end of the Judgment Day, but I'm kind of glad that they just took Priest and Ripley out and
I love
the Judgment Day there.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't want them to go away, you know.
No.
I don't know that I want them to add a bunch of people like the Bloodline, but I know that I don't want them to go away. I think when it comes to Dominic and Ripley and what happened there, and then separating them all and Ripley and Priest teaming up, we had kind of talked about it before we went on, but it was almost like Ripley came in and scooped whatever heat Priest had. And you're right, there was an elevation there where I think he brought her up, and then she went into the stratosphere with the whole Dirty Dom thing, and Dominic turning on her to where she's like higher up than Priest is. Not that that's a bad thing, but
I think she just has a lot more natural star power and charisma than Priest. Not that Priest doesn't or Priest lacks it. I just think that hers is kind of generational in a way.
Yeah, star power, charisma, and that's like Ripley walks onto the frame, and you're glued, right? Priest walks in the frame, and it takes a second with Priest, but I think he can get us there, and I think he's gotten a lot better in his promo work. Having the world title, I think he did a lot of good work there. You know, really improved that his mic game. So, and before I couldn't tell you that Priest was a good talker, but now he's pretty solid. I mean, he's not cutting CM Punk promos, but he's definitely gotten better.
Now, do you think that the tag titles is kind of, I don't want to make this a whole separate thing, but do you think the tag titles being on the Judgment Day B team If you compare it to the Edge, if you compare it to the Priest, if you compare it to the Rhea, it just feels like they're kind of in their B team territory right now. But do you think that Judgment Day having the tag team titles means more for the Judgment Day or means more for the tag titles?
I would say right now it means more for the Judgment Day. I don't like that the titles aren't on the line and it's a PLE, but I understand you don't want to overload the card. But until these titles are taken these particular ones are taken a little more seriously, because I feel like it's the WWE ones that are on the Bloodline. So I feel like
these world ones, yeah.
Is it which one's on the Bloodline? The Bloodline's got the WWE, right?
Yeah, which historically, if you look at the lineage, goes back 2002, right? And then they just, when they merged them in 2013, 14 with the nickel belts or whatever, they kind of disbanded the old Demolition heritage and
that's it.
Really picked up the heritage there. And then these ones are the Raw ones that they started. Or excuse me, actually it's backwards. These ones are the SmackDown ones where Slater and Rhino won, right? So it's very, very messy, and they just switched lineage. They end the lineage. It's messy.
But I think that they help, that like the Judgment Day helps them more than the titles help them. And I think the Judgment Day can get the titles over. They just need to do more defenses. But right now they're kind of seem like, I don't think the BT having them is bad, but they can definitely be used a lot better. And I think we'll get there. It's just going to take a little more time.
So my reason bringing that up is that the new Judgment Day ceiling coming out of this feud? Let's talk Judgment Day and Finn Balor before we go to Priest here. Is that their ceiling in 6 months? Like I asked you originally, who would you rather have? So you said you had rather have Priest. Now, is that the Judgment Day ceiling coming out of this?
I think for McDonough it is, but I want and wish for more for Balor.
Does he have enough surrounding support within the Judgment Day to elevate his character up to even Damian Priest levels?
Not right now. I don't think. I think he would need
some
more members.
Would he need a win here to elevate here? And would he need like a live win as well? Maybe a member or two, like you just mentioned. What does Finn Balor in the Judgment Day need to kind of elevate that legacy there?
He would need a clean win here, not just a win, but a clean win.
I don't know.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say a dominant win, but definitely a clean win. And then he needs to kind of go out there and start, quite frankly, beating some talent guys. There's another group that he could, if he wanted to break through, he could really take on and try to get through. But I think we'll get to that in a little bit. But I think right now the ceiling for McDonough is tag team champions in the Judgment Day. And I think for the next 6 months, I think it is for Balor, but I believe he can break out. A good Royal Rumble run would help him a lot, even if he didn't win. I'm not saying he needs to win, but we know what a good Rumble, run can do. I mean, look at Diesel in '94, right? Yeah. So Balor could get something going for him. I just think right now, with it being October, there's not a whole lot of big moments for him coming up. Survivor Series is typically not the time when someone breaks out. So I think right now he needs to kind of bide his time and shoot for the Rumble and have a good showing in the Rumble. And then he can break through that ceiling.
Hopefully. I don't mind Finn. I just feel kind of bored with him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right, so this wasn't the first match coming out of SummerSlam. At Bash in Berlin, there was Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan and Dominic, kind of coinciding feuds. And Finn Balor got involved with that a little bit. Judgment Day got involved with that a little bit. But overall, ended up being a dominant win by the terrible name of the Terror Twins. And, and it wasn't over because we didn't get this match here, but it just felt like that was a satisfying victory and perhaps a precursor to the inevitable results that we get at Bad Blood here, because we saw the Terror Twins, right, again, with that become victorious in the first match. And then now Rhea wants her belt and Damian wants his vengeance on Finn, which led us here. So all that stuff makes sense, right? And would it make sense, to continue here past this without, again, you adding no stipulation and all that stuff? Or do we see other factors coming into the finish and they completely pivot out of this and we're done here. So overall feeling, are we done here? And kind of what's next for Priest? We kind of just talked about Balor and what's next, but what's next for Priest? Honestly, personally, before I throw it to you, I feel like a trade to SmackDown would do him very good, right? I feel like that would be a good spot for him. But anyways,
well, let me ask you this. What about a trade to NXT? Do you think he needs to go back and then to go back to move forward like some guys have? Would that be something you could see?
Well, I think NXT is a great developmental / rehabilitation center. I think he still has plenty of steam and he doesn't really need to be rehabilitated. I think that he needs to be added on to. I don't know if the NXT environment is a great spot for that right now. I think that would be looked at as kind of a demotion for him personally.
As it relates to your original question, there's two schools of thought. One is that we got the one-on-one at SummerSlam, then we got the tag match at Bash, and this being the third match should be the blow-off, right? Because they're what, 1-1, 1-0, whatever you want to call it, however you want to frame it.
Well, that's the ladies. Like these guys are the first time.
Right.
This is Jake
and singles.
Yeah. This is their first singles, but it's also, mind you, like you said earlier, there's zero stipulation here.
Right. And I mean, and the other school of thought is that, well, because there's no stipulation and this is kind of the first, so why end it? But how much further can they go? I think what we talked about beforehand, and I mean, I don't want to scoop your heat or anything, but
scoop away, brother.
To me, it would make sense. To me, it would make sense if the Wyatts come out and Wyatt 6 come out and cause something. Okay, let's say they don't even have to cause anything. Just show up, just flash, whatever you want to on the screen, or have one of the characters come out. It doesn't have to be anything big. I could see it costing Priest the match, and Balor gets a win, and moves on to the Wyatt feud. Survivor Series is coming up, so it'd be perfect for the team concept. One team versus the other.
The reason why I like that is, one, they're dormant, right? So what are they waiting for coming out of the American-made feud? You got some vignettes, but not really a lot of depth. So they had that blow off, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and they just been dormant. And they're established as a stable, right? And the Judgment Day has maybe prizes for them to go after, but ultimately the Wyatt 6, that what they established in their vignettes is they kind of look down on people that hurt their families, right? And they didn't really like how Chad Gable reacted to his family, right? So they set him as a target. Perhaps Finn Balor could be a target because he kind of broke his family up and got like selfish or whatever to become the leader of the Judgment Day. So they're kind of like vigilantes in a way, or whatnot also. So there's definitely some crux for the reasoning on why they should be. And honestly, it's kind of really good use of the Wyatt 6, right? I don't think that they should hover around the main event. First of all, I don't think they're talented enough. And two, I think it's super exposing. And we saw that with Bray, that if you kind of push that type of gimmick at the very, very top, it's just completely exposing. If they're hovering in the mid card, have some super highlighted spots to elevate them, I think it's the best presentation for them, right?
Absolutely agreed.
So I think that this would be a good spot for it. And that kind of why I brought is the tag titles with the Judgment Day, enough juice. Mix in the Wyatt 6, I think there is enough juice. And honestly, what I've seen so far, Gacy and Loomis could be like a really fun bell-to-bell in-ring team. Loomis seems to have like this wild style that just seems to be working for him. And I've always kind of low-key been a fan of Gacy in ring. So I agree with the sentiment that this could be it. I just don't know if it's at Bad Blood, because I'm not sure if they would blow it off here. And I'm not sure if they wouldn't want to use a Monday Night Raw coming up for a bigger blow off, right? Where it's maybe, I don't want to say it's on a bigger stage, because this stage is pretty big here at Bad Blood. A lot of eyeballs are going to be watching this opposed to Raw, but a big stage of Monday Night Raw to kind of fill. That's what they've been doing, right? Get a big filler of a week or whatever, and then you can do all that production shit and Wyatt stuff and whatever. So
I think you're right, because
that's the end goal. I'm just not sure this here.
Well, it's a while till Survivor Series, right? So they got to have something to fill in, and I think you're right. They could end up having a stacked Raw, but like I said in my notes, I said I wouldn't say it's a lock that the Wyatt 6 show up on Saturday. It could happen on Raw, but it wouldn't shock me if it does. But I could see that might be direction they go in. And Priest, he's my pick to win. I think he's got more of a future, for at least for the next 6 months, not overall, and I think he's going to go on. I could see him going after the IC title after this. A good solid win against Balor, moves on to the IC title. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I'm just very curious what's next for him, because I kind of see what's next for Finn Balor, where he is the leader of the Judgment Day, and they'll have Juice there for as tag champs or something. So I feel that Priest will eventually win this feud. I'm just not sure if it's here. It could be though, right? But
yeah,
I don't know. I just feel that they need to be in different zip codes once this feud's over, right? Because I don't think they can be hovering on back-to-back segments with all that history and whatnot. So Priest and Drew, I feel like should be traded to SmackDown somehow.
You know what you do is that you get rid of, you send one to SmackDown, and then in a year you bring the other one back to help him. That's what you do. So in a year we could see a reunion.
Yeah, that's true too. Yep.
No, that's terrible. That's a terrible idea.
Never know.
Okay, give me.
That shit happens all the time, right? You're about to see it potentially with Roman and the Usos, right? So that's definitely, DX has done that in the past. NWO has done that in the past. It's a trope for sure. I can definitely see it.
I gave you my pick. Give me your pick. I want to know what your pick is for this match. Who you got as a winner?
I think Balor squeaks it out, and then Priest gets the blow off down the road.
All right, that'll work for me.
Because I feel that the Terror Twins, again with the name, were victorious at Bash in Berlin, and I think both of them are going to kind of show their ass at this pay-per-view, and then we have a big blow off for both of them coming up, down the road. So
yeah,
and they're undercard. Yeah, they're undercard.
You wouldn't want a Terror Twins. You wouldn't want a Terror Twins T-shirt for Christmas, would you?
Not much. No, not so quite. Not so quite. I like them together. It's just a bad name, It's a pretty bad name.
It's like the Dynamic Dudes. It's just not good.
All right, Jeremy. It was fun having you on, buddy. Thank you.
We'll see you, Brian.
We'll see you in these woods sooner rather than later again. And I hope you had fun, and welcome back.
I did. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys. See you on the next one.